Hey guys, it's 1969. We have the Vietnam War. We have a bunch of hippies running around doing God knows what. It's right. We're talking Hair the Theater Show. Join us in a second.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And give me a head with hair, long beautiful breakdown, hair, long beautiful hair,
shining, gleaming, steaming, waxing, waxing. This is like my favorite part of the Broadway the Tony Awards is when he like comes up and it's like.
I just realized I'm inappropriately wearing my hair for
up.
this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's why I said I had to go do my hair before the show started.
It made sense.
Can't do a show about hair without having my hair kind of in my face.
There. I guess I'm I'm post-Vietnam War hair.
You're the straight lace.
Yes.
You're the army side of the table.
Exactly.
Which makes appropriate sense seeing as you were an army child.
Right. Yes.
Hey everybody!
And my dad was drafted during Vietnam.
Oh, there you
go. It was
go.
scary. It was
my
a scary
dad
time.
was the next draft number when the war was ended.
Oh. See, my dad, what happened was, so he was drafted towards the end of the war. This war lasted a long time. He was drafted towards the end of the war. He went through like PT training and everything, and then the war ended right as they were thinking of like sending in the next group of troops. So he never actually had to go, but he did stay in the military because they were like, "Hey, we'll pay for your college." That's a really long sidebar to this musical.
Hey everybody! It is Broadway Breakdown here on Popcorn Talk Network. I'm your host, Briana Phipps. You can find me at bphipps14 on Twitter and Instagram, bphipps1214 on Snapchat.
And I'm 123 Jackie B on all platforms except Snapchat, where I'm Jackie B123.
And we want to, before we start the show, at least I know I want to, and I'm sure Jackie does too, want to wish every mother out there, especially my mom, a very special and happy Mother's Day today.
Mother's Day.
This musical has nothing to do with that, although it does tell you to go home and hug your kids.
There's a pregnant lady there in the musical.
Yeah, and there's the Wisconsin man dressed as a woman telling everyone to hug their children.
Right.
So you know.
There's moms in the musical.
Just not an overly motherly musical.
Yeah.
But happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers out there, future mothers, or fathers who are like mothers, or just fathers in general, too.
Happy Parents Day.
Happy Parents Day.
We're changing this around.
There's, it's appropriate. Anyway, let's just go into our overall thoughts on the musical, and we'll try to do our best to stick to the theater show. Because we are going to be discussing the movie next week, even though I think we both have many thoughts on that.
Be prepared next week for us to take down the movie with one fell swoop.
Unfortunately, not taking it down altogether.
Oh, yeah, the movie, I couldn't handle it.
So this musical, while being so ridiculous, and like the first act, when I went and saw it, I was just like, what is happening? I don't know what storyline we're trying to go for here. Is there a storyline? But it's like one of those musicals that's so just like fun, and like there's some sad moments, but like overall, like it's just so fun. And then you get to the second act and it's just like, and poof.
I think for me, I do think it needs that because it's ending with a war.
Yeah.
But for me, I love the music. The music was really popular at that time. The music was selling like hotcakes. And before I had heard the music without even, I guess, kind of really knowing that it was associated with hair.
A lot of people do. A lot of people know the songs, some of the songs, and they don't know that it's from a musical.
Right, exactly. And so when I think of songs like Age of Aquarius, it's like that is a very popular song in popular culture, not just...
People nowadays will know that song from 40-Year-Old Virgin.
That is true. But yeah, now it's a song in the pop culture zeitgeist, but I guess for me, I love the music from Hair, but the musical itself, I think that because I actually did a lot of avant-garde music, or a lot of avant-garde theater, and I come from, like, my education has come from an avant-garde theater background, I think I get just so annoyed by it at this point because I've been exposed to it too much. I mean, I don't know. Like the
fun part for me about the musical, like besides the music, because I do love some of the music like you do, and I do know that some of it's gotten overplayed and everything, but the spirit that the actors bring in, at least for the one, when I saw it, there was just everyone was just having so much fun. Like you're singing the audience and you're just enjoying yourself. Like you're rocking out to the music because you know it.
Right.
Like at least me, like my dad like played that music growing up and I knew it before I even saw the musical. And it's just everyone, like, the actors are coming down into the theater with you. It's like,
I can imagine that as an actor being a really fun show to do, just because
Just let loose and just do whatever
just
you
because
want.
of the open-endedness of it. I think that part must be really exciting as an actor. It's just for me as an audience member. I've been to plays where people like threw fake guts at me and stuff. So you get to this point where you're like, what else have I not seen?
For me, it was really fun because I sat in the orchestra, and the orchestra at the end of the show, after final bow, can choose to go up on the stage and dance with the actors on the stage. And so me and my mom and my friend Ashley we went and did that, and
that's awesome.
it's so fun. And even though you're not in the musical, you're kind of like, I'm
in the musical.
I'm in this musical. For all you people up there in the balcony that I can't do this.
And I do think it's hard to look at it when from today's time period, kind of looking back and seeing that at the time, hair was part of that like avant-garde theater scene, and it was
completely such a forward
it really
musical.
it pushed a lot of boundaries for Broadway theater. And I think it's hard to say if it pushed boundaries for theater and like just normal theater, because they had so much avant-garde theater at the time. It's like that just grew out of that naturally. And so when it became a Broadway,
this tested the boundaries. I mean, obviously sexuality wise,
right.
I watched a documentary on the original musical, and one of the guys that was in the original musical was like, we were all actually on drugs like during the show. He's like, I don't even remember some performances. We probably were actually having sex on stage at some points. Like, it was probably like some people that went and saw it not knowing what this musical was about were like shook to their core, like what's happening. Like, I do think because there is a nude scene in the show. And everyone kept telling me about it before I saw it. And like, I thought it was going to be
It's the first nude scene
It
on
is
Broadway.
the first nude scene on Broadway, and that's why it was such a big deal. But I, in my head, had made it a big thing.
Right.
Like, oh my God, like what? Like I was waiting for this nude scene to happen. And when it happened, I almost didn't realize it had happened. Because what it is that, you have Claude singing in the front, and then everyone else kind of congregates in the back in this dim lighting, and they're nude, but in a very like subtle way. And then I had to be like, oh wait, look at the background, they are naked, but you're focusing on this other person singing with clothes on. Right. So I was expecting like this huge like crazy nude scene. Like I didn't know what was going to happen. But so for those of you that maybe like haven't seen the musical yet, or just know the music, or just know the story and are weirded out by the nudity, like it's not anywhere near like they're not going to come out and
jump on you naked. Yeah.
They're just going to stand quietly, peacefully in the back of a theater in dim lighting, and you're going to be like, oh, wait, yeah, they're naked.
I did read somewhere that, I don't know about the revival cast, but in the original cast, it was basically a choice. Like, you could choose whether or not you wanted to be naked at that point.
At least in the one I saw, everyone besides Claude and the pregnant woman were. Because I don't think, unless she was actually pregnant.
Yeah, there's that.
It might be a little awkward for her to come out.
Right.
Unless she stood in the back, I guess. And you just didn't really see her. But I think, it's hard to tell, though, because you can't, like, really, like, count. Right. So maybe it still is that way. I'm not sure.
And you're probably not enjoying the play if you're counting naked people.
But yeah, this is definitely, like we said, sexuality, drugs, hippie
It was
movement.
shocking for audiences at the time, because when you think the difference, now Broadway has obviously pushed a lot of boundaries on Broadway, but I think at the time, you had like the off-Broadway theaters were the ones that did the really experimental stuff. So bringing an experimental show onto Broadway to audiences that were not used to.
Yeah, especially
like, first off, this was like one of the first
rock musicals.
First rock musicals. First show with nudity, first multiracial cast, or not first. I guess.
For the amount of
one of the first multiracial casts.
Because they had. It's not just like a couple, people of color. There's a lot of mixture.
I think that was the other thing. It wasn't also a show that was centered on people of color. It was just a natural blend of people, which I think...
obviously you have to have both because you have the song, black boys and white boys, so...
But I think also it represented how the time period was. Yeah. You had people that you're coming out of... This is the time period where you're coming out of the Jim Crow area, and you have people who are saying, like, we don't we don't want a part of this anymore. We just want to like hang out with our friends, and it doesn't matter who they are or what they look like.
Just want to hang out, do drugs, have sex, and just live life.
It would be interesting to see with like the amount of because I know there was a revival in 2009, but it would be interesting to see now with the rise of activism that we've seen come after Donald Trump was elected. It would be interesting to see like how a revival would be or what it would center on now.
I think that it would stay the same. It would stay true to what it was because it's about a time period and it's about a group of people that don't exist anymore. Like, like there's people with those values and ideals, but it's not the hippies. What we think of today are not what hippies were. Like when you look at like the Halloween costumes and stuff, like that's not like hippies were like this whole movement of people that you just don't see that kind of thing anymore. And my dad always like jokes around because he like, we always as kids dressed like flower power, the tattoos, the glasses, and he's from San Francisco and like was in the Haight-Ashbury during this time period, and he was like, if you could see what a real hippie looked like, it wasn't that glorifyingly like nice to look at. Like they didn't bathe, they had long hair, they had long arm hair, leg hair, whatever it was. Like they were dirty, grungy, drugged out people. And so now like in the 90s especially, we had that huge, I think, bring back of like hippie culture for kids.
Yeah, but it was more, I mean, that, like, in the 90s, that's actually what spawned the hipster movement.
Yeah.
Because you had, like, these faux, these people, I'm guilty of this to some level. It's like where you thought, like, these styles are cool, like, I'm going to mix and mingle and I'll shop at thrift stores, but I'm still going to, like, get my hair cut and, like, make sure I look tailored or whatever,
Yeah, I think we all are and stuff. It's just like, growing up and stuff, if you like looked at those costumes or looked at like what we probably thought hippies were, like that's not what they were. And like what they were fighting for was like a huge cause that they believed in, and that they like you said, like it was this group of like, it didn't matter who you were or what you looked like or what, it was just we all believe in this cause, we all are kind of in this together.
And I think again, it's like I do think there's a lot of activism right now. Like we're living in a time right now where there's a lot of activism, but you're right, it's different. And one of the reasons why it's different is because in the late 60s, there were so many different like social issues happening all at the same time. It's like you're talking about a war, you're talking about civil rights, you're talking about feminist rights. Like there are so many issues that were coming together at the same time that it made for, I guess, kind of like a more free environment.
Yeah, and it was just like kind of people breaking away from like that traditional thing. Like, you look back at the 40s and 50s and everyone was very put together. If you went out, you had your gloves on, you were dressed nicely, your hair was done, you were put together. And like then you get to like the 60s, like late 60s, early 70s, and people start just kind of wearing whatever they want to wear. They're growing their hair out. They're not doing themselves up as much. They're not bathing as much. And like, it was this whole like spirit of like, we're going to go against what traditionally is.
Yeah, it's rejecting the man. And the man at that time was like sending people to war and saying that people were separate but equal, and saying that women couldn't have certain jobs, so and saying people of different African Americans couldn't have certain jobs and whatnot. So it was a total rebellion of all of those values. And
it was also because I was watching the 1969 Tony Awards, which I have a clip of it here. It's just funny. Like, I'm like, everybody in that show at that time period is just wearing jeans.
Yeah. Like, you were looking at that. It's funny to look at that and then look at
what we perceive it as in the 2009 one.
Look at the 2009 one, because in the 2009 one, it's very, like, clearly delineated costuming.
Yeah, we're putting that, like, this is what we are saying hippies look like.
Right,
and
exactly.
Like, these were people that probably were actual somewhat hippies.
You know that they probably just wore their clothes on stage. They were like, I got those jeans, I'm just going to wear them on stage,
What smells the least amount?
Right.
All right, going to wear this.
Because they did, the two guys, James Ratto and Jerome Ragney. Did I say those names right?
Yeah. James Ratto, Jerome Ragney, yeah.
Yeah. they brought people from be-ins, which was like a big, like, kind of like LSD peace get together, hangout, whatever. And they would bring them in. And this is so funny because this is like, if anyone who lived through the 60s is hearing me explain this and is like, you are atrociously wrong, please let me know. I clearly did not live through the 60s.
Yeah, neither of us did.
But they brought people in from their communities and basically just had them in the cast. So there is a level of authenticity
Well,
here.
and they wrote it autobiographical.
Right.
So
They revealed later on that they were lovers, and then they eventually split up and met with other people.
Yeah, life. But let's talk some more about the music because we were talking about that earlier. And I mean, this, like you said, this music there's people that know this music that have no idea that there's a musical based off of it. Like we have, Good Morning Starshine.
Yeah.
Which is even still like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the one with Johnny Depp used that line in it. Like
I only saw that movie once because it was horrible. And then I repressed everything.
When he greets the kids, he like uses that. It's like, "Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello." We have Age of Aquarius. We have
even Hair itself.
Even
Like
Hair.
obviously, by the time you're listening to Hair, you're like, "This is from a musical named Hair." But
I Believe in Love. Like there's some music that you definitely don't know.
Right. I mean, until actually, watching the musical, I didn't realize there were like, songs about sodomy and whatnot. But
Sodomy, fellatio. I was watching that in the theater and I was like, oh, wow. And the LSD song.
you were like, those are songs.
They're there. And the Air song. Air is everywhere. Breathe deep. Wow. Oh my gosh. Sorry. There's some very campy songs in it. And it's just funny to me, like how for a majority of the first act, except for maybe a couple songs, it's all like this very upbeat, very silly, nonsensical. Nothing like like I said it before, nothing's relating to a storyline in any sort of form of way.
It's a very
in the
loose
first
format,
act.
yeah.
And then the second act, you still have some of those songs like Black Boys and White Boys, but then you start getting into like this drug trip and.
I do think that like the reason that the end is kind of, even though I guess they tried to make the last song, they made that last song and to try and like bring up the mood a little bit, it still doesn't necessarily
they
do
still
that.
like it's everyone walking away as one person stands alone on the stage finishing the song off. It's still very intense, but I mean I think that's why like someone once said like if you want to go see Hair just for the story, just come in at the intermission. Because you don't need the first act unless like the only thing you need for the first act is maybe the names because you get to introduce to everybody.
Right.
But the second act is like, you do this drug trip and he's like going all this stuff. You're getting the draft cards and then burning their draft cards and him eventually choosing to go to whether I can't remember. I'm trying to remember if he chose to go to war or if he just.
I think he does.
I think he does make that choice. But it's just like it's like all of a sudden this like silly, like free-spirited musical gets so deep and you're like, oh, okay, this is where we were going this entire time.
And that's why the end is like, you could compare it to the end of a drug trip. It's like you just had this fun, exciting party and then bam, you're like set into a very dark
that's
place.
what she goes up and she's like, Claude, you have bad trip? Like, yeah. Because he all of a sudden is like, oh, wait, this fun-spirited life that I've been having and just having fun with, like, what's happening to it.
Right. And I think that's kind of why, I don't know, like, not that the 80s are particularly dark, but the Vietnam War, like, it left such a lasting wound on this country because it was a war we lost, but we still can't admit that we lost it. And so many people died and so many people felt that those people died needlessly, that once you reach the 90s, that's why you have this, like, 90s, like, depressed era kind of culture.
Grunge.
Yeah.
And I do want to go with the songs, too, that there was ones that they had made, but they took out because of it being too, like, they had one called Colored Spade, which they had racial slurs within the songs and stuff. So they did even go further with some of this music, and they decided to kind of bring it back a little bit.
Yeah, they were clearly trying to push boundaries, obviously, with a lot
without,
of songs.
like, to the point where people would have been completely turned off. I think they did a good balance because yeah, this pushes boundaries. Yeah, there might have been people that went to go see it and left like not liking it at all and not being okay with it. But I think like for the most part, like it does enough of the job of like keeping it lighthearted for most of it that even people that were maybe pro-war weren't going to get too swayed either way, that they would still be able to see the point of it. What's your favorite song?
Age of Aquarius, hands down.
Aquarius.
I think that's because it's like I had heard it so many times in like the pop culture zeitgeist before I actually like knew it was associated with hair and knew anything about hair. That song to me is just, it's such a beautiful, like fun, cool song and it's hard not to associate it with that time period too.
Mine, I have two. For some reason I just love Manchester, England.
It is a fun song. It's hard to get out of your head. And because after doing all the research and everything yesterday, I was like, why is that song stuck in my head? I cannot get it out of my head. It's very catchy.
It just makes no sense, but I love it. And then Flesh of the Failures is my other favorite song because I don't know. There's just so much behind it, like with them like looking for him and like not being able to find him and then singing this song and him walking around.
Yeah.
Singing and
it's very powerful.
It's so powerful.
It's very powerful.
Plus it's like when the girl gets to like, the main girl gets like, she has like other songs too, but I feel like that's her power song.
Yeah.
So those are my two favorite songs. I do want to get into some of the other themes because they do talk about religion and astrology within the show as well.
I love the astrology thing. I loved how in the original cast, apparently they had like an astrologer there giving them advice.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely did work on the show. Like for everyone that thinks that this was just like, I mean, it was just a bunch of people kind of on drugs doing whatever they wanted, but they actually did put work into it as well. It wasn't the entire time just like, yeah, let's just go on and we'll sing whatever comes to our mind and that'll be our songs.
Well, I mean, it's clear. I mean, it's clear because the show was a hit. You know, like I think that if they hadn't put effort into it, it would be like those two people on Saturday Night Live who it was Kristen Wiig and Fred Armisen, who they're like a singing duo, and they haven't prepared anything, and they keep like trying to sing each other's and finish each other's songs, and they're horrible. Like if you hadn't prepared anything, that's what it would be, and no one would come see it. You know. Mm-hmm.
Or you would only have a one good night because then you would the next night not be able to remember what you did right.
Exactly. You would not be able to replicate it.
And there is, like the whole underlying thing of kind of, they have the Lucifer song and that whole underlying thing of religion, which, I mean, I think this was a generation that was starting to lose its religion.
Definitely. I mean, it's hard to believe in something when you feel like everything around you is falling apart and the institutions that in the 40s and 50s that you once believed in are no longer serving you.
Yeah. And also, like, within the sodomy song, it's like him singing these different words and being like, why are these viewed as nasty? Why are these dirty? Why is masturbation dirty? Like, that was their subtle-ish way, like, where I don't think people understood necessarily always that it was about the religious aspect, but that was their subtle way of being like, religion has held us back from being able to fully
talk about things in a public forum, and especially in the United States.
Or be appreciative of things and be appreciative of our bodies in different ways. And, like, I mean, for how silly this musical can be, like, when you depict it down,
when
you depict it down, like, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense when you're first watching it and you have no background of the story because you're just like, what am I watching right now for some of it?
I think it is hard, like, I do think it is hard for a modern audience to look back and kind of, there has to be a cultural and historical context to looking at a show like Hair and saying, like, where were these people coming from? What were they trying to say? Because now we have shows like Book of Mormon that, like, openly poke fun at religions, openly poke fun at, like, saying the things you're not supposed to say. We have shows that do that. We have comedians that do that. It's, and arguably, like, shows like Hair open the doorway for that. I don't think you would have Rent if you didn't have Hair.
Yeah. I mean, Hair definitely broke down, like, some of these, what a traditional musical was. Like, before, it's like we had all these musicals that did explore deep subjects and stuff, but nothing to this extent. And nothing in this kind of sound before. Like, they kind of created this, like, you can make musicals that don't necessarily sound like, you know, the Rodgers and Hammerstein. And
well, you can make musicals
Porters.
that go into pop culture, and people who aren't necessarily like musical fans can listen to the music and really enjoy it, and then say, "Oh, that's from a musical." And obviously nowadays with the success of Hamilton, there's now tons of musicals where people who necessarily wouldn't be attracted
There's not necessarily
to musicals go.
we no longer have that one standard musical sound anymore.
Right.
Which there used to be, and I think Hair was part of what brought that about.
Right. And it helps that it's not the same. Like when you allow people who are outside, like when you continue having like Rodgers and Hammerstein make all these musicals, they start, not that I don't like Rodgers and Hammerstein, but it's like they start to sound the same, and they start to be a brand.
When you only have a certain amount of people making musicals, you only get a certain sound.
Right. Exactly.
And that's like the thing of it, and that's like these people coming about making these musicals that weren't made before and that don't sound like the traditional musical, and it can be a hit is, I think, a powerful message in itself. And that like drove maybe other people to be like, you know what, maybe I can do something like this. Maybe I can do something of my own, but that's not, you know, Cinderella or this or this or that. And
maybe I can do something experimental and make it a hit.
Yeah. I do want, we have a couple videos I'm going to show. We have the 1969 Tony Awards. I just wanted to show that and the 2009 one just because of the differences.
There is a real difference. Yeah.
So this is the 69, obviously, because of the...
You know what kept throwing me about this actress was that she looks like a young Ann Coulter. And I was like, why? What?
She has gray hair, though.
She does have great hair.
I just love their set, too. The fact that it's just like a bunch of random stuff.
Yeah, it's like found objects. Yeah, literally found objects. It's also telling their choice of song. So you choose to bring this song to the Tonys, whereas in 2009, you choose to bring Hair, which is like the more upbeat.
Well, to be fair, they had 3 different songs within here. I just chose the last one, but yeah, all 3 of the ones they chose were some more of the powerful ones.
Yeah, the heavy-hitting political
Like, look at this.
stuff.
Except for like 2 people, everyone's in jeans.
Yeah. And you totally get the feeling that this is stuff people had.
That guy in the back reminds me of the guy that plays Napoleon Dynamite. John
Oh
Hurt.
yeah, he does look like him.
And look, and this is also the difference too of this time period versus our time period, because it's going to pan out to the audience, and no one in the audience is like moving. Like you're expecting people to be like kind of
Right.
moving their head with it or clapping along with them. No one's
But
really
it's funny
moving.
because you have shows like Hair that encouraged audience interaction. The audiences weren't understanding like the mainstream audiences, I should say, were not understanding like what to do with that yet.
Yeah.
And it's now we have so many audience interaction
Acting
shows that we understand what we're supposed
so
to
it's
do
so
with
abnormal
it.
for us to look back at something where it's like you want to like be
Right.
moving your head with
Right.
it, and no one's doing anything.
And now at the Tonys, you have people like running out into the audience, which is what you'll see in the 2009 one, where like sitting on people and whatnot.
Yeah, and then this one was nominated for Best Musical and Best Direction Musical, but didn't win anything. And I don't think at this time period it could have won anything yet. It was too controversial. They didn't want to like, you know, the political part
It's
of
what
it
we
all.
talked about with Gypsy in the beginning, how people were just not ready for it yet.
Yeah, they weren't ready for this yet.
They weren't ready to give the accolades to it, I should say. Like, the Gypsy, again, was popular, like Hair was popular, but it's like it was a shock to your system.
Yeah. So this is the 2009 one, Gavin.
Picking the fun song with the
I love
standard.
Gavin Creel. I don't care.
What?
I love Gavin Creel's.
He's got a great voice. He really does.
I'm hairy, high and low. Don't ask me
But
why.
you know he doesn't own those jeans. Those were jeans made by
Those
a
are made,
costuming
yes.
person.
It's not for lack of
But this,
bread.
regardless, like, you know,
Like the great
they just have so much fun.
Yeah.
And just to lead into next week's discussion, which I'm not going to get into, like I said, but the guy he's singing with is Berger, who in this is just kind of like the secondary
Right.
person in the
It's a secondary
show.
character.
Also, I mean, you could probably be in the show nowadays and they'll just put a wig on you. I feel like back in the day, if you didn't have good hair, they were like, sorry.
Oh, yeah. That was totally back in the day. That was their hair. Here, they were like, let me give you a long manicured wig. And you're going to go sit on Anne Hathaway. For those of you listening to this as a podcast, that's what he was saying.
Yeah, I mean, this musical, they, like, during multiple different songs come out to audience, either get, like, step onto the chairs, sit on your lap, hand you flowers, like, it's a very interactive show. Just groaning in the background.
And I mean, look at the scenery in the background too, because like instead of found objects, now you have a
very bright
color, happy sunshine.
Also, just their clothes in general are so bright when they were so dingy and stuff before.
Right.
This
totally reminded me
of choreography, whereas I don't think, you know, like the guy that said in the documentary, a lot of them were on drugs during the show. I don't know if they could have had choreography.
Yeah, I mean these are people that the guys knew a lot of the time. A lot of the time the cast was people that they knew, not Broadway stars that were totally understood choreography.
Yeah.
I mean, what was really fun about looking at the original cast was seeing like what their jobs were post hair. Mm-hmm. Just to kind of see like where they went after that. I think one was like a Wiccan priestess, and so you kind of got this sense, a real sense of like this really meant something to them. It wasn't just a job. Like, not to say that hair is a bad job to get.
They wanted to go out there and put their word out there.
Right. Yeah, these are definitely trained dancers.
Yeah, because I mean, if I tried to go up there and do that,
also, headbanging makes you really out of breath. So just to be able to do all the headbanging and then like singing
and not be out of breath or only lightly out of breath.
Right, exactly.
The rest of us would be like, all right, just give me a second.
When I was in high school, you would have because it's really hard to like sing and dance at that level at the same time. We would have like a dance cast and a singing cast. So the singing cast would like walk around, and then the dance cast would do all the like heavy-handed dancing stuff.
Yeah, which sometimes that's what you have to do.
It's what you have to do because this is freaking like next level talented.
And the 2009 show, it won Best Revival of a Musical. And it was nominated for Best Performance by a Leading Actor for Gavin Creel, Best Performance by a Featured Actor for Will Swenson, who plays Berger, Costume Design, Lighting Design, Sound Design, and Choreography. So it won one, but it was nominated for a lot more. But like you could just look at that versus the 1969 one.
Right.
The amount of nominations it got and that it won an award shows that, like, you know,
I think that's coming off of the fact that the original cast like they had several touring casts going at the same time, kind of like what we're doing with Hamilton right now, because it was so popular. And weirdly, Meatloaf was in several of them. I was like looking this up and I'm like, why is Meatloaf in like every other touring cast? It was so random. I don't even remember who he played. It was just like blah 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 and Meatloaf, and over here blah blah, and Meatloaf. I was like, wait, what? Where is Meatloaf going? What is he doing?
And before we get on to our Broadway news, I do want to just talk about some of like you said, like we were watching, you watched what people did after the show that were in the show, and it did invoke a big social change after the show. Let in artwork, it inspired some artwork that like Jim Dine did a painting depicting a comb and a few strands of hair, and that was directly because of this show. It was just the reaction to the show just created this kind of movement that happened. And
yeah,
so,
people were very passionate and excited about it.
Mm-hmm. It made some people maybe made realize the seriousness of what was going on, because like we said, the second act, you know, it gets so intense, and like it's so easy to distance yourself from what could be happening in a war when you're not seeing it firsthand.
Yeah.
So like having someone on stage being this person that was free and loving and against all of this, and then deciding to go to the war for his country or for his people or for whatever it was, for whatever the reason was that he decided. And then having these like powerful images.
It spoke directly to people.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that it spoke directly to people, and it spoke directly to a lot of people's experiences. Which cast did you see? Was it the Hollywood Bowl cast?
No, I saw it in San Francisco, actually,
okay.
before I moved to LA, I really enjoyed that aspect of it because San Francisco was such a huge part of the hippie movement that I felt like this is like the right city to see this.
Place. Yeah.
But there was a lot of stuff that I just want to read a couple things. Like the touring company of Hair met with resistance throughout the United States when it was on tour. In South Bend, Indiana, the Morris Civic Auditorium refused booking. And in Evansville, Indiana, the production was picketed by several church groups. And in Indiana, it was all in Indianapolis, Indiana, the producers had difficulty securing a theater, and city authorities suggested the cast wear body stockings as compromises to the city's ordinance prohibiting publicly displaying nudity. So, like, we say that, like, we're talking a lot about, like, the good that came out of Hair and stuff, but there was still a lot of resistance. Like, it wasn't like, we're doing the show now, everyone's like, yay.
I think that's what has to happen, though. Like, you have to basically have a touring show that is going, like, I'm going to go into more conservative parts of America to give access to people who, like, who feel marginalized in those areas and definitely need that kind of access, you know, but at the same time to say, I'm going to challenge your preconceived social norms.
I mean, yeah, you're forced, you know, with whatever you do in any kind of activism way, you're forcing people that either don't want to admit something or don't see it.
And who wants to bet that cities like that now have Avenue Q coming through with no problem? You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh. That's all.
Avenue Q has a song called The Internet is for Porn, and we can move on from there.
But yeah, I mean, you know, whatever you're doing something that's is forcing people to look at themselves in a different way, you're going to meet resistance no matter what it is and no matter what time period you're in, I think.
Right. It's true. It's just like all those people successfully boycotting Hamilton.
Which other people are like,
Which
go
they're
ahead,
not.
because
That was completely, if you missed my sarcasm, that was completely sarcastic. People were saying boycott.
I was like, if they were, then I think everyone else would just be like, fine, because now
everyone else would be like, can I have your ticket for free if that is your protest?
It's more like the people that were boycotting Beauty and the Beast for like the gay scene and stuff, and
yeah, that worked out well.
Yeah, everyone's like,
and by worked out well, I mean that movie
the couple people that like publicly said that they were gonna do,
yeah,
like, so you lost out on money on your tickets or whatever. But you know,
you're always gonna have that, but you can't stop the tide of like time.
You can't be afraid to push the boundaries
right.
because it's gonna be met with resistance or because you might be met with hate.
Right.
Not if you truly want to make a difference.
That is true. I like that. I like that as an end note.
Yeah. Good end. We will be talking about, like we said, the movie next week, which is vastly different from the theater show in many, many ways.
So confused by the movie.
Besides maybe the music. But we'll talk about that next week, and we'll talk about that in correlation with the theater show as well. So I do want to get on to some Broadway news because we have
so much news.
I know. We had 3 new live shows announced this past week.
Yeah. One of them is Jesus Christ Superstar, which we just did here.
Which is the only one that has a date associated with it.
Right. So you guys, you should go back and watch our breakdowns of Jesus Christ Superstar to get prepped for that. And then you can watch our breakdown of Rent to prep for that.
Jesus Christ Superstar is going to be on April 1st of next year. It's on Easter. It's going to be on. Makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Like I said, it's the only one that has a date, and that one is going to be for NBC. And then we have, like Jackie said, Rent, which has no date associated with it. It's going to be, I believe, Fox, right?
Yes, it's Fox, which did Rocky Horror, which when Alexis told us about this, it does make me nervous because...
I mean, we talked about it on our show.
Yeah,
we talked about because Becca had wanted a live version.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
I'm all for putting these platforms and putting these messages on television, but we still aren't in an age where you can put something like that on a daytime, like not daytime, but like even early night television, because you have to censor it. And this show should not be censored.
Yeah, it's how I felt about Rocky Horror when they censored it. It's
and
like they
how
cut
that
out.
turned out.
I know they cut out all the
but made it more violent,
sexy,
against women.
racy stuff. Yeah, and then made it more violent. And I love Rent so much. It's like, if you're going to do it, you better do it justice. You better put
like,
it out
you
there.
know,
There better be no censored kisses or whatever. I don't want any of that shit.
We all liked the movie, but we all did agree that they did censor that back, and that's a film.
Right.
So how much further is it going to have to go to be on television?
Right.
Unless they did it like whatever the hour is at 10 p.m. or something, 11 p.m., where you can be more racy on television after that hour. Or unless, and it's obviously not going to be on HBO or Showtime. I don't know. I hope they do a really good job with it. I'm excited to see who's going to be cast in it.
Yeah, I'm really, and that again, it's like, with the way Fox cast Rocky Horror, it does give me some like slight pause, because I'm like, you also like, Rent is a rock musical. You can't like cast people just because they're big names and can't sing.
They need to be able to do the parts.
Yeah.
Acting wise, especially with this musical, like you have to sell it to. You have to make me.
I'm
feel
so worried.
We were just talking about you.
Yeah, you guys already know how much I love this musical and what it means to me memory-wise and stuff. So, like, I'm excited, just like Briana said, where it's like, yeah, let's bring it out. You know, let everybody see what it is.
I just don't want, like, Zac Efron as Angel. That's
No,
just,
oh my god. Oh my god. No, you just crushed all of my dreams, Jackie.
Something like that.
But I mean, this is how Fox thinks of their casting.
No, I totally agree with you. Yeah, I just hope that they do it justice, man.
I'm just trying to think of who's like a big pop star at the moment that they would put into a role that probably wouldn't do a good
Another
job.
Ariana Grande.
I didn't say it.
She's going to be Maureen.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, God.
If they do it right, then I'm fine with it. I just don't know if they will.
Yeah.
And so I can't make... I also just, like, you know, I need to, like, be more positive and not go into it with all these negative assumptions of what's going to happen until it happens. But just based off of the past, it makes me nervous.
Right. They're just, I mean, some of it is like, you know that Rent is popular with people, so you're doing a clickbait thing where you're saying, we're going to give you some Rent, and then people will tune in, and then you'll have the longtime Rent fans get angry if the casting is wrong and if you're censoring it, and then you have the new kids not understanding what Rent is, which also does
Also,
it
you have a
harm.
whole generation of people that, you know, don't understand the AIDS epidemic of the 90s at all.
Right.
All
That's
these
why you
kids-
have to do it justice.
Yeah, no, that's why, exactly. Like, you can't censor it down and make it seem like a more happy time than what it was. I don't know. I just don't know.
Mixed feelings.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to wait and see.
Speaking of mixed feelings,
gonna wait until-
next is Willy Wonka.
No, first we have A Christmas Story, which is the last one that was...
I actually did not hear about this
Yes,
one.
Christmas
I missed
Story
out on this one.
is going to also be live. I'm guessing they haven't released a date. It's going to be Fox. I'm going to guess it's going to come out around Christmas time.
What? No.
To compete maybe with Bye Bye Birdie on NBC.
Yeah.
That's my guess. But they
sense.
haven't released a date for it either. But, I mean, it's a little surprising that they're going to do Christmas Stories because it's such a new musical. But, you know, the movie is such an iconic movie and has such a huge cult following. I'm sure people will watch it regardless. So
Right.
it's a
I
smart
think that's
move by
why.
Fox.
Yeah.
But you better get a little kid that's a good singer and sells me on that part. That's all I'm saying.
And next, they're doing Billy Elliot. Again with Zac Efron.
Like,
No, wait, he's too old for that right now.
Stay away from
he
all
could
the
just
musicals,
be
Zac
the-
Efron. Stay
he'll
away.
just be the like grown Billy at the very end dancing.
Yes.
Can he do that kind of dancing?
I don't
No.
even think so, which is why Fox would cast him. Anyway.
Anyway, the last bit of news is on Good Morning America, they released, or didn't release, they performed part of the new Willy Wonka, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I should say. Willy Wonka's the Gene Wilder movie that they had to change the name because Ronald Dahl didn't like it.
Oh.
So Charlie and the Chocolate Factory play. So this is our first taste of that leading up to the Tony Awards.
I never had a chance to shine, never a happy song to sing.
But suddenly half the world is mine.
What an amazing thing, 'cause
I got a golden ticket. Oh, Charlie, your father would be so proud. We got a golden chance to make our way. And with a golden ticket, it's a golden day.
These costumes are crazy.
I know. That's like that's
They're definitely going to get nominated for a costume award again. Or they're trying to.
I know, but I'm just so mad that they turned the TV kid into like a total hipster. What is this?
Beyond this door's a factory.
I love him so much.
No,
Just
Alexis.
Christian
a
Borle?
bee.
You don't like Christian Borle?
I I like him, but not as Willy Wonka.
No. I don't like him as Willy Wonka either, but I still love him.
Okay, I agree with that.
It's
It's hard when you think of Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka.
I don't mind him as Willy Wonka, but that's only because I know like the original story, and I know like that the original one's supposed to be a lot darker, and I feel like he could maybe do it justice.
I hope they do. I mean, I don't know. The costumes are so candy coated that I don't know if they're gonna do it in darker, which is what I would like.
Man, this musical is gonna be so cheesy.
It's so cheesy.
It's so bad. Like I'm getting a cavity just from watching.
We're not gonna get the creepy candy song in the beginning.
Oh, that's so sad.
We're not gonna. I don't know if this is true, but that's one. I loved that song in the beginning. That creepy like neighborhood candy man, you know, who's like singing about Willy Wonka, and then he's like being creepy.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And then that other creepy song where they're on the boat, and Gene Wilder is like, "I'm gonna kill you on this boat." Those are literally not the things.
You know
he
how
said,
like when we were younger and people used to make fun of us that musicals were like weird and cheesy? I
Right.
think this is what this musical is gonna be like.
Yeah. I'm still mad about Hipster Kid.
Who's Hipster Kid?
Mike
kid.
Mike TV.
Oh God.
Yeah. Because now he's like a hipster with an iPad.
Ew, gross.
And Veruca is like a
ballerina? I do like that they made
Violet.
I like
Violet
Violet
a black girl.
Yeah.
I think that's really awesome. And the fact that her dad looks like a pimp. What's up with
I
that?
love the fact that this kid playing
I think that's the only
Augustus
part I
has
agree
been
with.
so patted down. His legs or
Right?
his face are so skinny
His legs
compared
Yeah.
to
He looks like Humpty Dumpty.
Oh,
What is happening?
what is that fur coat that he's wearing? My God. Gross.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this.
I don't know how I feel about
Yeah, I'm
this
not-
either. Like,
The
especially-
dancing's good.
Yeah, it looks
That's
great.
my only comment right now.
Yeah.
Golden ticket winners, Gloop, TV, Beauregard, Salt, Bucket. Do come in.
Oh God, nope.
I know that
I don't
people
hate the song.
Right. I don't hate the
But-
song either. But I know that people want to update. When did the Gene Wilder musical come out?
It was like in the 70s, I want to say.
And I loved those costumes. I almost wish they had just kept it in the 70s. And I know that's like weird, but I just hate the updated costumes. I'm not a fan of them.
I looked up the song list for the musical. I'm trying to see what's on here. So, I'm trying to see if there's any ones on here that
From the movie.
like that are from the movie. Yeah.
What about Oompa Loompa?
I don't see any Oompa. I wonder if they're not. Are they going to get
Are
rid of
they
the
not gonna
Oompa
do it?
Loompas? I don't see anything having to do with an Oompa Loompa in any of this. Or maybe they'll just talk about them, but you won't see them, or you'll just see one or two.
Are they gonna be like Tinkerbell? where we
They
only
will
see a
have
light?
They will have pure imagination.
Oh, I like that song.
So that one.
That's good.
That one will still be in
I
there.
think it'd be weird if they took that one out.
Yeah, that would be
It
weird.
looks like that's probably the only one.
I don't know how I feel about this, guys.
Yeah.
It's based off of that. I mean, I'm going to try to keep an open mind about it a little bit. We'll see on the Tony Awards because I'm sure it'll be nominated. But, or I guess the nominations already went out. I can't remember if it was nominated. I think it was. But it's just not something that I'm willing to pay a lot of money for. Let's say
No.
it that way.
I'll go if you pay me. That's my.
It looks like a good thing to take kids to. Maybe.
That is, you know what's funny is that is the first thought I had. I was like, that's a good thing to take kids to. It wasn't like, oh, I'm incredibly impressed and interested in this musical. It was like, I would take a child to see that, which is how I felt about the Mary Poppins musical.
Yeah, I never saw Mary Poppins.
Yeah, it's
musical.
not.
Oh,
It's not
man.
something you want to go
I
to.
love
on
Mary
your own.
Poppins, but I didn't see the musical.
I
No, the
just
musical,
feel like
you do
anything
not wanna
that's
see
not
the
Julie
musical.
Andrews with Mary Poppins just
It's-
makes me not want to see
Yeah,
it.
Mary Poppins the musical is basically because What's Her Bucket, who wrote the books, was like so mad at the movie. They used the actual like book stuff to make the musical, and it's like fucked up and weird. And so
Well, that's the thing about the about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Like I said, like he had to call it Willy Wonka for the film with Gene Wilder because Ronald Dahl didn't like what they did with it and said that's not my book. Because they made it like, you know, they made Charlie, I think, do the one room
yeah.
where he actually does something bad. because Charlie's supposed to be pure.
he opens that.
The
He drinks that fizzy
lifting
stuff.
drink, fizzy lifting drink. Yeah. So like there was and he thought that Charlie looked too healthy and happy. Yeah. So
But see,
look at
but
Ronald
then
Dahl's
again,
books. Ronald
that-
Dahl was a very dark person.
He was a dark person, but still, that movie is very beloved.
No, it's very beloved.
As is
that's
the Mary
why,
Poppins
But that
movie.
is why it's called Willy Wonka instead of
Yeah.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because they had to change it. But I mean, I don't know. I love Kristian Borle. The song wasn't bad. It just
And they had the golden ticket
It just seems
song.
maybe a little too campy for my tastes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'll try to keep an open mind about it. I can't promise that if it comes through, I'm gonna go see it. If I had endless money, I would see every show that came through regardless, just to see.
Right.
But
just
I
to
don't.
see it. Yeah.
So that about wraps up our show for this week, unless you had any other news that you want to
see
talk
us
about.
next week for the movie.
The movie version of Hair. Where can they find you one last time, Jackie?
123 Jackie B on all platforms, and in 2 hours on the RuPaul's Drag Race after show.
And you guys can find me at bphipps14 on Twitter and Instagram, bphipps1214 on Snapchat on Wednesday for the finale of the Speechless After Show on AfterBuzz TV. So we will see you all next week. Have a great one.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.
Supreme vision.